Welcome back to the Free Hour. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Trevor Turner. Got a special guest with me today, Suny Crawford. Suny Crawford, go ahead, tell you where you're from, who you are.
Man, my name is Suny Crawford, born and raised in Bakersfield, California. Man, you know how that goes. At Baketown.
Hey, you know what? I've been out here long enough. I kind of know how that goes now a little bit. So, I mean, to be honest, in a place like Bakersfield, doing what you do is actually, is important. Doing what you do in a place like Bakersfield is important.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell them what it is that you do?
I got you. Like I told y'all, my name is Suny Crawford, born and raised in Bakersfield, California, man. Got my bachelor's in secondary education. Working on my master's right now for strategic organization and leadership from Fresno Pacific. I'll be done by fall 25. I'm telling you, praise God. After that doctoral degree, Dr. Crawford's going to be coming soon within the next 2-3 years. So, hey, wait on it. It's coming. Don't worry about it. And I am the Amend advisor at Bakersfield College. So Amend is something so important to me. And you can't beat it, man. This is a program built for men of color, man. We are here to make sure you graduate, you stay on track, man. Building this bond, man. Like you see me and my boy Trevor Turner right here, man. And on the other side, we got my boy Jacob here too. You know what I'm saying? So,
Come on in here real quick. This is Jacob.
Yeah. We got Jacob Perez back there. He's my ICC rep. He's my president right here of the organization here at Bakersfield College campus. So I want to make sure I highlight that part of it, man.
Yeah.
He also run cross country, man. I'm gonna tell you, y'all need to watch out for him. He's gonna be breaking medals, like records.
He just won his last one, didn't he? Right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He won the last 2 races already since the
19
beginning.
seconds. You beat the dude by 19. Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah. He ain't skinny like that for no reason. You know what I'm saying? I know he probably beat me by 19 minutes. But look, we're back once again, man. We are here with our ABC series on emotional intelligence. We started off with awareness, and now we are here with the letter C. And when we talk about the letter C, man, when it comes to emotional intelligence, and the theme of this series obviously is the power of connection through emotional intelligence, with a focus on how emotional intelligence empowers us to connect with ourselves and others, leading to fulfilling relationships and a supportive community, while also touching on personal and professional success. Right. So it just makes sense for the letter C to be this one. What if the key to stronger relationships and better outcomes is how well you communicate?
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about C is for communication in the context of emotional intelligence. And what we're going to be discussing today, man, we're going to be talking about the role of emotional intelligence in effective communication, why it's important, and, of course, strategies for improving communication skills in both personal and professional settings.
Right.
So let's start real quick, man. Let's talk about communication in the context of emotional intelligence. So when we talk about communication, right, especially when it comes in the context of emotional intelligence, we just look at it as the ability not only to express thoughts and feelings clearly, but to also listen actively while being aware of the emotions driving both your own and others' communication. So when you think of communication, what is it that comes to mind for you?
Man, communication is definitely, there's a couple things that come to my mind. So the first thing is, man, without communication, you ain't got nothing, man, at all. Like, you ain't got a friendship, you ain't got a bond, you don't got a relationship. It doesn't matter where you are. You don't even got you and your bosses getting into it without that communication. You know what I'm saying? Because communication is key. That's the foundation of any type of friendship. That's any type of bond. It doesn't matter if it's professionally. It doesn't matter if it's just your boyfriend, your girlfriend, man. Without that communication, you ain't got nothing at all.
You really don't got nothing. It's really one of the building blocks of it. When we talk about things like emotional intelligence, and we talk about things like awareness, and we talk about being able to take a look at our feelings, right? And we talk about being able to be aware of not only our feelings and other people's feelings, right? One of the things that happens is we're going to come across some things that we may not like, we may not fully understand. But the thing that you have to be able to do is you have to be able to communicate with other people.
Right.
When it comes to things, especially that affect you on an emotional level.
Right.
If you can't communicate, if you can't do that, and it's not even about unpacking everything yet. You know, this series, it really builds upon stuff because we've talked about being aware of what's going on. We've talked about being able to take that step back and look at and make the gap between emotional stimulus and emotional response.
Right.
And one of the things that happens is that communication is the next step of that, because you have to be able to express those thoughts. Yeah. You have to be able to express those feelings. Even if you aren't able to necessarily work them out, you have to be able to put them on the table.
Yeah.
You have to be able to work through them. And it's all part of being assertive as well.
Well, I want to real quick back up real quick, right? So it's not even just about the emotional intelligence and more than communication, though. It's about knowing when to step forward and when to step back. So even when we're talking about emotional intelligence, I'm going to use myself as a professional field. If it's some things that make me feel uncomfortable, I'm going to be honest with you. It's some things that we have to learn. We got to take a step forward. And then there's moments to where it's like, hey, this is out of my control. I can't worry about that. This is not my type. But emotional intelligence, you're correct about that. But it's also something we have to know about. And it comes with maturity. So maturity is knowing when to speak up, and in a sense, when to be quiet.
And that comes with awareness.
Yeah,
that comes with awareness, and that comes with the awareness, and that comes what we spoke about also, taking that gap.
Yeah,
putting the gap in between emotional stimulus and emotional response, because if you are in your feelings, if you are falling in your feelings, you're not making the best decisions.
You're not at all.
And so one of the things that happens is that maturity comes being able to act on situations in a non-emotional manner. Being able to say, okay, this situation made me angry. Mm-hmm. Now I've decided that this is a battle that I want to fight. Mm-hmm. This is the hill I want to die on, basically. Right. This is the thing that I want to confront this person about. But still being able to be assertive in a non-emotional, non-judgmental, or non-abrasive way.
Right.
That is the key and the crux of the importance of communication as it comes to emotional intelligence for me.
No, you're right.
And one of the things that we talk about, obviously we're going to talk about the importance of being able to express, right? But we're also going to talk about the importance of being able to receive. How many times do we get to hear about people having all this emotional intelligence because they are able to fully express what it is that they are feeling? I'm feeling angry. What you did made me feel this way. And because of this and because of my past and because of everything that has happened to me, like this triggered me into this and all that other stuff. But then as soon as you say, well, you doing this made me feel right, they immediately don't know how to take it, immediately fly off the handle. Or you're able to say, okay. Or getting to a space where you're able to say, okay, I understand how you feel. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to invalidate your feelings. Right. I'm going to take those things into account. But I'm going to have to continue doing what I'm doing because I know it's the best thing for me. But doing it in a way that's not abrasive, doing it in a way that's not being an asshole, that is the core and the crux of like communication in the context of emotional intelligence. So now that we know now that we've kind of talked about what emotional communication is, why is it a critical component of emotional intelligence? Especially when we think about emotional intelligence not just being about understanding emotions, but how you convey emotions.
Yeah, because there's sometimes, man, in the conversation, it's not about what you say, it's how you say it. Now, it's a lot of times, man, when you're so upset, you're so passionate about something, somebody could take it personal. They could. And it's not intentional. It's just when you're so passionate about something, somebody can feel like it's been attacked. For example, right? I'm in this profession, so there's sometimes when I speak about things because my passion speaks louder than my words do. Sometimes I'm gonna repeat that again. My passion speaks louder than my words do. Sometimes, and sometimes it comes off like, hey, this man is very passionate about this. But also, there's a two different types of listeners. They listen to comprehend, or they listen to respond, and that's when.
When can I get in? When can I get in?
Go and hop in, brother. Look.
No, I'm just demonstrating what it is you talking about.
So, and that's what happens sometimes. And there's going to be a lot of things in life that's going to come your way to where there's going to be a lot of people that's not going to listen to comprehend. And you got to understand that's okay. That's part of emotional intelligence. You have to also be aware of your surroundings, of who you're talking to. And there's times, absolutely. Is it easy to catch on to that? No, it's not. But it's something you have to learn, because when it comes down to emotional intelligence, you have to know who's actually there, who's an ally, who isn't. So that's when communication comes in there. So yes, it's definitely a key. I hope I answered your question though.
No, yeah, that definitely answers the question. So I do want to piggyback on that because, and it's a trap I fall into a lot, and it's something I even talked about in the last video. It's that sometimes you ever notice that when you're speaking to somebody or when somebody's speaking to you, if it is an emotionally charged conversation, it is that easy to get caught up or latch on to one thing that they said.
You're right.
And forget about literally everything that they said after that one thing. And even if you're like, patiently waiting to respond when they're done making their point, but it's like, I just want to go back and address that thing you said.
Right.
Back then. And it's like, okay, you just got stuck on that one thing. That's all you're focusing on, that one word. And you know what? Especially fellas, we do this a lot. And I'm going to give, I exaggerate with my shit just so people understand what I'm talking about. But the girl could be like, man, you cheated on me with all the white bitches. I don't mess with no white bitches. Right? You latch on to the one thing, and that's
right.
The only thing that you respond to, invalidating everything else that they've talked about.
Right.
And like how you said, is people who listen to comprehend and people who listen just to get in that word, just to get in that response, to find that place to interject what it is that they are trying to prove. And that is only half of communication.
That's half of it.
Because you have to be able to convey the emotions, but you also have to be able to understand others' feelings. You have to be able to understand when somebody's passion speaks louder than their words. Right. You have to be able to understand when somebody's body language is not threatening but assertive. You have to be able to understand when somebody is not coming on off in an angry way but a passionate way. Right. You have to be able to understand those things. You have to be able to see, comprehend, and manage those things. Right. You have to be able to perceive that. That is such an important part of communication, and that's why it's exactly what you said, because there are two types of listeners.
Right.
Because also, because the thing that you said about it is, like my passion speaks louder than my words. Is it your responsibility to tone that down? Or is it the listener's responsibility to be able to see that, right?
Yeah.
And I know that's a fine line.
Yeah.
But
professionally, I'm going to tell you. This, it sucks because professionally, yes, it is a part of my responsibility to either not tone it down to make it understanding, though, right? There's some people to where when you're saying something, they take it personal, like a personal attack. It's not even a personal attack. It's just speaking the truth. But there's two different types of people. You either are going to step in my shoes and understand from my background for where I came from, or you're going to take it from your perspective of how you feel of what I said. Now, it's not my 100% responsibility. No, absolutely. I'm going to say no, but I'm going to take an accountability, because if there's sometimes also us as men, we got to take accountability for what we say, because our words are daggers sometimes. And I had to catch myself this a lot of the times. Now, when it comes down to it, it sucks sometimes for me, because like my passion, especially for a man, I have been in a lot of feuds since I've been here, because I feel like the change should have been happening a long time ago. But when I tell people what's been happening, they feel it as a personal attack to a specific department, college, whatever the situation may be. They feel like it's a personal attack. And that's not a personal attack. It's just based off of what should have been done. What does it look like now for me? But also, like, you got to step in my shoes to understand it.
Right.
And that's the comprehension part of it. And without comprehending where I come from, that means you really didn't understand the word I just said.
Right. Well, so let's do this. Let's take a quick trip down this road real quick.
Yeah.
So, in the context of communication,
Yeah.
especially as it comes to emotional intelligence, knowing that you are dealing with people who are going to take it like that,
Yeah.
knowing that you are dealing with a group of people who may not be as concerned about putting that effort in to understand where it is you're coming from.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways that we, especially as men, especially as black men, can take the step back and say, okay, how do we assess the situation and improve our communication in situations like that? Because this is not like a completely unique situation.
Right.
And we know that, we know that maybe some of the details might be unique.
Yeah.
The names of the people might be unique. It might be, individual people. But the situations are the same and the outcomes are going to be the same. They're going to be like, okay, you're just another angry black man.
Right.
Because it's like, okay, how do we communicate, though? Something that we feel so passionately about. How do we get to the point where we're able to take that step back and communicate it in a way that we know that people will be able to understand? And like you said, like some of it is partially your responsibility.
Yeah.
Knowing that we can't just say, hey, look, like it is their fault a little bit.
Yeah.
But like, okay, how do we improve? How do we use it as an opportunity to improve our communication?
So we can definitely take the step back. The first step is this. Hey, awareness. Who is your audience you're talking to? Secondly, us as young men, we have to read books. Listen to me. Our vocabulary that we use is so important. And I know you are avid reader yourself. I know you working on a couple of projects. I ain't gonna say on the podcast, but you're working on a couple of projects right now. But our vocabulary itself, when we step into a room, we're really good at code switching, gentlemen. We're really good at code switching. But the issue with code switching is we have to change our vocabulary too.
Yeah.
Like, we just think code switching is like, oh, well, hey, I'm going to just, what's up, homie? What's going on with you? And nah, but you change, say, hey, good morning. Nah, you got to change your vocabulary, how you talk to somebody too. Because
salutations.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's times to where you can't go into a room and have that, hey, what's up, my brother? What you, man? What's going on, man? We hitting the club tonight? Nah, you got to be professional with this. And it's a way of code switching is for one. So the first step is awareness. Second step, we have to change our vocabulary. And the only way to change our vocabulary, brothers, we got to put that head in the books. Okay. And that's the second thing. Third thing, it's your mentality. We have to change the way we think. Tupac said something in a song. We have to change the way we eat. We got to change the way we think, and we got to change the way we treat each other. I'm going to tell you why that resonated with me. The food we eat, I'm going to go off track for a quick second. The food we eat can also change our behavior. The way we think comes off. Either if we're an angry person, when we're speaking, it can come off aggressively. And how you treat just a random person on the street is the way you're going to treat somebody else. We can't treat everybody like that, man. And that's based off communication. So I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I'm one of them people. If I got $50, if I see a homeless man, if I got it, man, I'm gonna tell you. The other day, prime example, I seen a dude. I was going back home, and literally he was on the side of the road, man, and I don't know what happened to him. So I was like, dang, I ain't got no cash on me. I went to the ATM, dead tears. Went to the ATM, put off $100, and I went back to see where the dude was. He disappeared. I drove down the street. I'm looking for him because God put it on my soul that quick to give it to him. But it's the way we treat each other, though. because I'm gonna treat that homeless man the same way I treat somebody else with care and love. Because the same way I treat others is, and also we got to understand something within communication. And I know I went off track, my bad, brother, but we also have to, our mentality of how we see the world. We got to stop worrying about stuff that we can't control. And that is how we learn to communicate in a better way. If I could give you a couple steps.
So let's definitely touch on a couple of the things that you said, especially when it comes to mentality, right? And obviously the other stuff is very important, but the mentality is really what, when we talk about the way we treat each other, right?
Yeah.
And then I always go back to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Covey.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm in the books and I read that book. I read it a few times, right? One of the things that Covey talks about is that his mentality towards his son. Like when his son was trying to play sports and everything as a kid, and they were trying to support him and back him up and do all these other things, right? And he wasn't progressing the way that they thought, you know, that he needed to be or he wanted to. Right. And it's because they really believed that they felt that he was like capable and all this other stuff. And when they went back to the root of it, in their mind, they didn't believe that he was capable. And that translated into the way that they treated him.
Right.
So it's like when we say we need to change the way we treat each other, I'm gonna go the step further with the mentality. Yeah. You need to change the way that you think.
Yeah.
About not only other people, but about yourself.
Right.
You need to change the way that you think about somebody. Because if you're thinking about your girl like, man, she's crazy. Every time she gets emotional, she's crazy. She's insane. She's this, she's that, whatever the case, right? Right. You are never going to be able to be understanding of what she's going through.
No, 100%.
You can try to portray that. You can try to project that, but you're never actually going to be that until you get it in here that to say, okay, she is who she is.
Right.
And you're going to say, okay, there's a reason that she feels the way that she feels. It may not be my fault, but this, I mean, unless she's just mentally ill, unless she belongs in the place of Harley Quinn and the Joker belong in, you know, Arkham Asylum and shit. Unless she's criminally insane, like there is a reason, a valid reason that she feels the way she feels. And unless you actually get to the point where you believe that, and you know that, you will never be able to treat them in any other way than they are crazy. And then we talk about our circle of influence and our circle of concern.
Right.
That comes from the 7 Habits also.
Right.
It's about being concerned with only the things that you can do something about. And this is one of the things, like everybody asks me, hey, man, you football fan? You like football? I love football. I love watching football.
Right.
I like gambling on football. I love playing fantasy football. I used to be a huge, fanatic. I used to love a team, right?
Right.
And then I realized, like, hey, I never played. I never played in the NFL. I never played for a team.
Right.
That's outside of my circle of influence. So I removed it from my circle of concern, right?
Right.
I'm not going to worry about the trades that you made.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to get excited like if a wide receiver goes to a quarterback that I know is going to make that a powerhouse duo for any team, I'm going to get excited for good football.
That part.
Because that is in my circle of influence. Like
you love the game.
I love the game, and I can choose who I watch, and I can choose who I pick up on my fantasy team, right? I can't choose what the Raiders do when Gruden came back. I had no say in what they did with Khalil Mack when they got rid of him. I was in the fine print of that trade, by the way. That traded me away from the team when they got rid of Khalil Mack. I was done. That was when I was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm leaving too.
Right.
And I realized, like, hey, it doesn't matter to them if I leave. I never played.
Right.
I was always a undrafted free agent. Never signed by anybody. So, but I mean, like, and obviously that's the example that I give, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
When you're watching something on TV in the news, like you can't do nothing about that.
Yeah.
All you can, especially when it comes to, and I don't like to talk about politics, but you can't, the only thing you do is vote. The only thing you do is vote. You can't do nothing else about anything else that they're doing. And even after you vote for these people, you can't do nothing about what they do in office. You cannot.
I want to add on top of that real quick, brother. I hate to cut you off for that, my bad. But also, listen, gentlemen, whoever's watched this podcast, listen, I don't want to hear it. He don't want to hear it. Jacob don't want to hear it. If you didn't vote, You don't have no say so.
If you didn't vote, erase it from your circle of concern.
It don't
right
matter.
now.
Erase it, because clearly, listen, a lot of us, and I know I got off track for a quick second, but that was a good point that you brought up, is that we talk about, man, we put this person in office and y'all voted.
What do you mean we?
Right. You know what I'm saying? But did you vote?
No, I ain't vote. I can't do it, man. I ain't choosing between the lesser of two evils.
You see what I'm saying? And that's the kicker part. And I'm like, hey, listen, if you don't want to vote, it's okay. Just don't be in those conversations.
Just don't be in those conversations. All right. So we did get off track.
My bad, brother. That's my fault.
So we were supposed to talk about the science behind effective communication, the amygdala, and all this other stuff. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do, because I've talked about it in the last two videos, like when you get to the point of being aware of your emotions, and when you actually get to the point of like changing the way that you process and changing the way that you perceive and starting to change the way that you handle and manage your emotions, you actually start to rewire your prefrontal cortex. Yeah. I talked about this last week. Like, you're not born at your limit of emotional intelligence. You can grow. Like, you can't say like, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm just this way. Like, I just I randomly cry sometimes, and I just randomly fly off the handle. I'm just an aggressive, angry person. No, you choose to be that. You choose not to grow. You choose to be an asshole. It's like all those people who say they're bipolar, but if you go into the psychiatrist, they're going to say, no, you're not bipolar. You're just a fucking asshole. You can choose to change how you react. You can choose to change that. And then once you actually start to do it on a regular basis, you will actually change the way that your brain is wired. Your prefrontal cortex, your amygdala, you will change the way that you can process emotions. Right. And you will actually improve your health. You will improve everything. So when we come to communication, you can change the way that you communicate. Yeah. You can change your communication. And that's what we're going to talk about now. We're going to talk about strategies for effective communication through emotional intelligence. And the first one we're going to talk about is active listening. So now active listening.
Yeah. Well, they're now, I can say now, man, the active listening part is now becoming norm for me.
This is not active listening, brother.
I know. So
what's he gonna do next?
So it's getting better. I can tell you from my side, it's getting a little better now. Is it where I want it to be? No, but part of emotional intelligence, we have to understand that things are coming. Now, am I gonna give them an excuse? Oh no, not at all. No. I'm not. Hey, I give everybody that chance and everybody that choice, because active listening is a choice. We all have it. Now, if we don't do it, that's our choice. One thing that we all have that was given to us by birth was a choice. We either can listen or shut out. And then, but this is the thing though, defining active listening. Listening to somebody and actually comprehending, not from your thoughts, from their side. So when Trevor's talking, I'm listening to what he's saying and stepping myself in his shoes so I can understand from his perspective, because I know him a little bit. I know where his background's coming from. I haven't witnessed everything what he witnessed, but I'm understanding from his perspective of how he got to this conclusion. And that's what active listening is. That's the definition from my side.
It's really about the lenses too. Yeah. Because it's like everybody has the lenses that they look through at life through. Yeah. So one of the things that one of the first steps of active listening, it's just about fully focusing on the speaker. It's about using both your eyes, both your ears to fully engage with what it is that they're trying to bring to you. But the first step of understanding the message is trying to understand or removing that lens that you have to where you can try to, like how you said, to look at it from their point of view. And you don't necessarily have to look at it from somebody else's point of view. Just stop trying to look at it from your point of view every single time. Right. Like when I'm talking to somebody and I can tell that they're trying to give me some advice and it's like, hey, that advice isn't going to work for me. Right. because, you know, people will tell me, oh, just go in there and be assertive, or go in there and do this, and just tell these people, no, this is not how that's going to go. Like, I'm a 6'4" black dude with tattoos, you know, and a record.
Yeah.
I can't act the same way as like a 5 something lighter skinned woman,
Right.
who has like a doctorate, right?
Right.
You know, the letters behind my name are different than the letters behind or in front of your name.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that, you know, you have to do when it comes to active listening is like how you just said, putting yourself in their shoes. But then also, too, is that realizing that when you're talking to somebody, you have to be able to talk and to somebody from their shoes, too.
Yeah.
And so, but here's where I actually want to ask you. I want you to give me an example where active listening helped resolve a misunderstanding or improve a relationship.
Okay. Let me see if I have active listening example to where it helped. Okay. So, example way, right? When it came down to a misunderstanding, right? The question came, Suny, hey, I need this from you, right? I didn't comprehend of what you meant, or my response to them were, I didn't comprehend what you meant by that, and I'm a little confused on this. So I understood you wanted me to do A, B, C, and D, but I didn't understand what. I gave you my side of it, but you told me to do A, B, C, and D. But I feel like you kind of missed my point of view a little bit. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I didn't mean to miss your point of view on this. But then what happened afterwards was, okay, well, this is what I needed. So this is how I want A, B, C, and D. Just clearly understanding from where they were coming from. I didn't understand it first. So my thing is this: if I don't understand, I can't comprehend what you're talking about. So letting that be known that, hey, I was listening to you, but nothing you said kind of like resonated, and I didn't understand it. So I want to let you know I never understood what you truly meant. So in order for me to get you A, B, C, and D, I need to understand, what do you mean? I hope that answers your question.
It definitely does. So one of the things that we can do is that, and this is actually something that I experience with a lot of people. They kind of guess.
Yeah.
They kind of try to like fill in the gaps of where they lack their understanding.
Yeah.
With what it is that you're talking about. And as an active listener,
yeah,
that means that you don't do that.
Right.
You don't guess what it is that they're trying to say. Some of the stuff that I wrote down is you maintain eye contact. Mm-hmm. Maintaining eye contact puts that focus on that person, right?
Right.
And then doing things like nodding to not only show the understanding, but what it does, it kind of locks in that last thing they said. So it's like, okay, I get that, I understand that. Right. But then also, I wrote down summarizing what the speaker said before responding. You can't do that if you didn't understand what they said.
Right.
So if you don't understand what somebody said, if you don't understand fully what it is that they want you to do, or if you don't understand fully the method that they want you to do it in, one of the best ways to be an active listener is to say, hey, wait a minute, hold on.
Right.
Can you tell me that again?
Right.
It's about not being afraid, because a lot of times what will happen is that if you don't understand a certain segment of what somebody else has said, you're not going to be able to just all of a sudden, okay, I didn't understand that part, but I can fully engage with everything that comes after that. No, you're just going to be like, yeah, I couldn't understand that, so I'm going to give up on the whole conversation. Right. And, that's not an example of being a good active listener. So my example, especially being in a place like, especially being in prison, active listening is extremely important, because a lot of times what's going to happen is that you're going to be encountering a lot of people who are going to be working with some type of feelings. And you have to be able to actively listen. You have to be able to pick up on their nonverbal cues. You have to be able to pick up on what it is that they're saying, to where you can respond in a way that will either talk them off the ledge, or that you can either be on board fully with what it is that they're talking about. Because somebody can say, like, man, like, I'm so tired, I'm fed up with this motherfucker, I want to do something to this motherfucker. Right. And you just think they're venting.
Right.
But you're not active listening. You're just kind of like, okay, this motherfucker venting again. All right, yeah, okay, that's what's up. No, I feel that, man. Yeah, man, you right. And as soon as you say that, you right.
Yeah.
You've just agreed to something. And because you weren't active listening, you don't know what you agreed to. Right. Or you can be actively listening, you can be engaged with them, you can say, wait a minute, hold on, what happened? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're saying that this happened and it made you feel this type of way. Okay, but is this really about what it is that's going on with them, or is this about the phone call that you had earlier?
Right.
I know your mom's is not doing too well. Like, is that kind of fueling how you feel about the situation? Right. Maybe you need to kind of take a step back and just kind of chill. Maybe you need to do this. Maybe you need to do that. It's about putting yourself in their shoes. Yeah. And then and that is something that can definitely to improve situations.
So my question to you is, man, I want you to, I know it's probably hard to go back into that mentality, man, because like I said, you have advanced yourself in every way possible since you got out. My question is this, man, what were some methods that you used? Because I know in that climate that you were in then, how did you get past that? And what helped you to build your communication, your active listening skills? Why? Because I know, when we do it professionally, that's cool. You know, we had a job, but you were in a different climate.
So,
if that question makes sense,
right? I mean, it was kind of easier to do it there because that's what I've been living my entire life. Okay. It was a familiar environment. Yeah. So I know what to listen for. I know what to look for. I know the cues. You know, I know when somebody's mad. I know when somebody has their fist clenched and they talk, this motherfucker did this, okay, something's about to happen. Right. I know when things get quiet, something's about to happen. I know, you know, when you go out and everybody's wearing their boots instead of their tennis shoes, like, okay, you know, something could probably pop off. So when it comes to the communication, though, the thing that I did to develop my communication is that I just realized that I needed to change my lens. And that's the way that I got past being in that mode of communication to where I can come up here and I can look at it and say, okay, this lens that I looked at life through, it got me there. So I took the lens off, I shattered it. I don't look at anything through that lens anymore. So now also what it enables me to do is when I'm dealing with people up here on a professional level, right, it enables me not to take things personally because it enables me not to make assumptions. Because what happens is that the assumptions that I would make, the conclusions that I would jump to, because I would go to conclusions that were not necessarily incorrect conclusions. It's just that the conclusions were based upon information that does not fit this particular situation. So luckily, I was able to find a book, and I suggest this book to everybody. It's called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, Ancient Toltec Wisdom. And he's actually a shaman from the Toltecs. He talks about 4 agreements that you make with yourself, because life is really just a series of agreements. Right. And he talks about 4 agreements you make with yourself, and one is never to take anything personally. Another one is never to make any assumptions. Another one is to be immaculate with your word. Right. And another one is to always do your best. You can actually combine every single one of those things, and it's like a never-ending cycle. Okay, so I'm impeccable with my word. That means I told myself I was going to develop my communication skills. Right. That means active listening. Right. Because I'm able to talk. Right. I wasn't able to listen always. Once I was able to stop taking things personally and say, okay, this person is not telling me no because it's me. Right. They're telling me no because they're supposed to tell me people no. They're telling me no because they were told to tell people no. Like, you know, I'll give the example when you go down into the counseling office during the summer, right? The counselors are on vacation. Yeah. The old me would have walked in there and said, oh, I can't see a counselor. It's because I'm black. Or it's because I'm this. Right. It's because I got tattoos. I would have tried my best to wrap myself into that or to fit myself into those shoes that didn't fit, trying to take it personally.
Right.
Instead of just saying or making assumptions. Now I don't make assumptions. I say, okay, why?
Right.
Oh, because they're on vacation. Oh, okay, when do they get back? Well, it's kind of
Right.
like rotating. We don't know exactly when they get back. We don't have their schedule available. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll check back in 2 weeks.
Right.
Because now I've taken myself out of that, taking it personally.
Right.
I remove that from myself. So now it's not an attack. That removes the emotional response. So now I don't make the assumptions. Okay, so you're not telling me no because of any reason. You're just telling me no.
Right.
Let me find out why you're telling me no.
Right.
Because I'm not going to assume that you've said it for any reason.
Right.
Because in that environment, though, when somebody tells you no, normally it's personal.
Right.
Normally it's related to how they feel about you. And one of the things that I was able to do to get past it, to get into an environment like this, is realize that people, and yes, there are people who are going to do it because of how they feel about you. There are people who are going to do it because of the way that you look, your skin color, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you wear your hair. You know, like I wear my hair uniquely.
Right.
I wear my hair the way I want to wear my hair.
Right.
And there are people who are going to look at you crazy. There are people going to look at you weird. And there are people who are going to deny you because of that. But I am not going to assume that that is the case when they do it. And that has helped me to avoid and overcome so many things that would have been conflicts before.
Right.
Because, you know, and I found a lot of great people who told me no from jump. And it's like, oh, no, we're just not hiring right now. Oh, okay. And I didn't fly off the handle. I didn't say, oh, it's because of this, because of that, blah, blah, blah. And then I got hired the next week.
Right.
You know, because I didn't fly off the handle.
Right.
And that's how that's one of the ways I've got past it. It's also how, you know, it has improved because of that.
Yeah, so I wanna make sure that, you know, we all everybody understood where he came from, man. Like, he had to change not the way how he thought of himself, what we touched based on earlier, to change how his active listening skills, to grow them. Then on top of that, he had to also take that lens off that he had in the past, that he had originally. He had to kind of change. Like, it's a couple, and you really hit a couple good spots, like Immanuel Kant, way of leadership. Have you heard about that one before?
No, I haven't heard about that one.
Okay, so there's different types of leaderships out there, right? There's Immanuel Kant's, to where, like, hey, do what's right, point blank, period. You do what's wrong, you're wrong, right? And then there's other type of leaderships out there, to where there's, you know, like, hey, you're doing stuff that's morally correct. If you think it's ethically correct, for a prime example, student A is dealing with a hard situation, but the deadline is this day. But you make something happen for that student ethically, because morally it's that's what should have been done, right? Immanuel Kant is saying, nah, that due date's there, it don't matter. Stop right there and there. Other leadership styles will say, hey, if it's done based off the aspect of doing it being morally correct and ethically correct, you're good.
Yeah.
But we have a lead. This two type of leaders. I know it's probably brought a good idea of type of leaders you have came across based off that example.
Yeah.
So that's why you brought some good points. I just want to touch on those, man. Like,
so let me just ask you real quick before we move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So, like, where can we find out a little bit more information about those leadership styles that you were just
so
talking
what
about?
I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shoot everything to you, man. Like I said, the next webinar, man, if you're down for it, man, I'll hop on with you next time. We can talk about leadership styles too.
All right, I'll do that. And then, you know, once I get the information, obviously I'll bring it back and share it
Yeah.
with you guys. So next we're going to talk about, empathy and communication. And this is about not only about because we're talking about putting ourselves in the other person's shoes.
Yeah.
Not only when it comes to listening, but when it comes to communicating with them. We talked about trying to communicate not only through our own lens, but through the other person's lens as well. And that's
Right.
empathy. Empathy, it plays a crucial role in understanding
Yes.
others' perspectives and emotions. It leads to more meaningful and effective communication. So one of the ways that I would suggest practicing empathy is putting yourself in the other person's shoes during a conversation.
Right.
Ask yourself questions like, how would I feel in their situation? When somebody's coming to you, like, especially as an academic advisor, right?
Right.
And also, especially as somebody who is working at the desk, helping these people to get to see their academic advisors. I had to do that a lot because people are coming in, they're upset, they're scared, they're worried.
Right.
They're all of these different emotions, and they're just kind of like swirling around. That pot is just stirring, it's bubbling, it's boiling, and all that stuff is just coming up, bubbling up to the surface, right? And it all kind of likes to express itself as anger. But anger is a secondary emotion that feeds off of a primary emotion, and normally is fear.
It is.
So one of the things that I really got good at doing is like, how would I feel in this person's situation? When somebody comes and they're saying, look, man, I need to talk to a counselor.
Right.
I've been trying to come up here and talk to a counselor. I haven't been able to talk to nobody. Why can't I talk to somebody? Why are they always on vacation? Why is this going on? Why is that happening?
Right.
And the thing that I'm able to do, instead of just going off the handle or matching their energy, a lot of people nowadays, especially in this generation, they want to match everybody's energy. If somebody comes at you crazy, you always want to go and you want to match their level of energy. You want to match that energy, right? Oh, I reciprocate energy. I match energy levels. If somebody's not putting it in, I'm not going to put in an effort. If somebody's coming at me crazy, I'm going to match that energy. And the thing is, you have to ask yourself, how would they feel in this situation?
Right.
How would they feel in the situation where they haven't been able to see their counselor? They're trying to see their counselor to update their education plan so that they can get in on the first day of priority registration. Right. Because last year or last semester, when they tried to get into the class they need to get into the nursing program, it was full on the first day.
That part.
But they can't get in to see somebody to find out what class they need to take. They have nobody to help them, and they're scared that it's going to happen again. Right. And if it does happen again, guess what? They're not going to be able to get their full financial aid.
Right.
They're not going to be able to get that money that they need to be able to come to school.
And add on top of that, it was going to hold them back from graduation, man. Everybody's shooting for this degree, man. Everybody is. Like, I just want to touch on that. Like I said, I'm letting you keep going a little bit. Yeah, it's going to shoot them back. It's going to hold them back from graduation. Like, prime example. As advisor, empathy, I want to touch on that too as well, too. So there's been times to where the most scariest thing for me is when another man of color, and I see him, and I say, what's your pathway? I don't know what I want to go to school for.
I want to help people.
Yeah, I want to help people. And I'm going to be honest, that's my biggest thing I'm scared of. Because I look at him, I said, how old are you? I'm 21. And my first thing, I get a little teary-eyed sometimes because it'd be like, dang, bro, like, that you're in the real world right now. You don't even have a. Then my next question to these students is, what's your why? And they can't tell me that neither. But you're in college. So, but I also got to understand, this is where empathy comes to. It's like nobody has ever brought it to them and had a sit-down conversation with them to even figure out. Nobody has cared enough to even say, hey, you don't know what you want to do. I want to sit down and talk to you about these are the options we have. What option sounds most interesting to you? Now, is it scary? Yes. But that's when empathy comes as an advisor, that it kind of hurts a little bit because it's like, man, it's like, I don't want you to fail.
Right.
Like, but go ahead.
Well, one of the things I do is also, I think about students in that situation. I think about people in that situation. I think about people who don't have no goals. And a lot of it, too, is like when I would talk to people when I was locked up, right? What are you going to do when you get out? A lot of them don't know. Like, we know what we're going to do the first day.
Right.
I'm going to go here. I'm going to eat this because I miss real food. Right. I'm going to go here. I'm going to see my girl. I'm going to do this because you miss, being around women. Right. Or I'm going to go. I'm going to hug my kids so hard because you miss being able to, touch your children.
Right.
You don't have any of that contact being in prison, right? So you know your short-term goals, and it's just like students are also the same thing. They know their short-term goals. Like, I'm gonna come to school, I'm gonna get that financial aid,
Right.
I'm gonna study, I'm gonna pass this class, and I'm gonna pass that class, right? But then it's like, well, okay, what are you gonna do after that?
Right.
And it's like, so few of them are so many of them are just focusing on getting to that next level,
Right.
not realizing that the next level is not the end of the journey.
Right.
And the problem is that, like you said, no one sat down and had that conversation with them. Right. Because a lot of them think, especially in places like this, especially when it comes to men of color, a lot of them feel like they don't belong in higher education. A lot of them have never seen that. Like, the only places they feel like they might belong are HBCUs, because that's all they see on TV or movies.
Right.
But they come to a place like this, and it's like, damn, no one wants to sit down and talk to them about what it is that they want to do. Nobody really gives a fuck.
Right.
I mean, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Nobody really gives a fuck about what it is that you want to do. Oh, you ain't playing football? All right, well, go to math or something.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, I don't know. What do you want to do? You don't want to play football or basketball? I don't know what you're doing here.
Yeah.
And they're not going to say it like that, but they're going to push you out the door.
Right.
And the thing about it is that as a person of color, as a person in a leadership position, with other men of color, you have to say, well, how would I feel if I was in their situation? I would feel lost.
Right.
I would feel scared.
Right.
I would feel hopeless.
Right.
I would feel confused. But you know what? The ones who are up here, I would feel determined. I would also feel those things. I would feel maybe a little bit of having a chip on my shoulder.
Right.
I would feel a lot of that. But at the same point in time, there would be a lot of that fear. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know. I just know I don't want to fucking slave away for somebody else.
Right.
I don't know what I want to do. So it's like when you it's like, okay, I realize that is how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about how it helps the communication.
Right.
When you put yourself in their shoes a little bit. Talk about how it improves that level of communication.
So it builds the relationship with us. That's the number one. And it builds the trust. I'm going to tell you, without trust in any type of bond, you ain't got nothing. But I am going to tell you, when you literally open up and say, hey, I have been where you've been at. I have sat in the chair, sitting, talking to another advisor, and I was confused just like you was 3-4 years back. They look at me and say, what do you mean? You're advisor. You're doing all this now. I said, nah. I was in your shoes too. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a teacher. Shoot, I didn't want to be no teacher. I had to recreate my vision again. So I told him, I said, understanding that breaks that comfortability barrier to where they can open up. And a lot of students look for that, man. I'm gonna tell you, the thing is, they really want to see that you're human and not a robot, not going off a script, not just saying, hey, this is what I gotta tell you because it's my job. But when you literally step into it and you actually understand, you step into their shoes and be like, man, you know what? For his prime example, a lot of students struggling in class. I'm going to let the podcast know I hate math, right? I'm going to let you know now. Can't stand it.
He's not good at it either. That's why he doesn't like it. Because he's not good at it.
But I will tell you that I had to retake math. I almost wasn't about to graduate college. I'm not going to lie to y'all. This is my first time y'all hearing about this story. I almost wasn't about to graduate college. I failed my college algebra class once. And I had to retake it. I was heartbroken. I said, man, do I really need this class? They looked at me and say, yeah, my guy, it don't really matter. This class, if you don't take it, you don't walk across stage. So luckily, I putting myself in the student's shoes. Especially when the student said they're not good at math, I know it's not easy. It's not a subject. I'm dyslexic, got ADHD, a couple things, man. Just disclosure about Suny, right? I'm going to let y'all know it's black or white. You're going to get the real me, right? So stepping in the student's shoes gives them the comfortability level so they can open up more to you. Because when you're just a robot and you're just saying things that make them feel good and you're telling them what they want to hear, yes, that's good. But let's be quite frank, that's not doing shit for them. That's not doing nothing for them, because it's some things that you got to give hard news. You got to, hey, you failed this class. You got to do better. I failed a couple classes too, but I graduated with a 3.45, and I retook that class and passed it with an A. So if I can do it, you can do it too. So I put myself in their shoes, and now it's comfortability. I mean, you're right. I just got to do what I got to do. Man, you know what? I said so. And then my next question, I said, okay, cool. You didn't do well with that class? You're not good at math? What steps? Because you know you're going to need the graduation. What you going to do? Oh, I'm going to get a tutor. Okay, cool. So have you looked into tutorial services already? Oh, I ain't did it yet. Okay, cool. When you going to do it? Matter of fact, I'm glad you said that. I'm going to do it today. And they really, but it's one of the things that open up and you let them be comfortable. And it creates a vulnerable moment between you and the other student. So to answer your question, it creates a vulnerable moment so that they can not just have emotional intelligence to be comfortable with you, but to build. Like, hey, you know what, man? He's human like me, man. Like, he ain't perfect. Like, he's just trying to help me through it. And it creates that, like, bond instantly. Like, hey, man, he got my back.
Yeah, most definitely. No, I definitely get that, because I got that with my I got that with the counselor. I work with Carrie a lot. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I got that with my counselor. That's why, like, the levels of communication there is like, when it comes to my plan, yeah, I got faith in my plan.
Right.
I have trust in that, my plan is going to where I want to go.
Right.
Because, we've broke it down and we've gone through so many different levels of it, especially, with her putting herself in my shoes too. So let's talk about communication as a skill. How do you feel about the idea of communication as a skill that you can improve over time?
It's definitely a skill that everybody needs it, because when you step into a room, communication, if you get good with it and you walk into a room and people sense that confidence, you light up that whole entire room. That whole room, no matter where you are. Like, with you having that skill, then you get more opportunities coming your way. Man, I would love for you to speak to my group. I would love for this. Matter of fact, hey, I got a couple students that I would love for you to meet because of based off your public speaking skills. And that can take you a lot of places. But also, public speaking can take you a lot of places, but your mind, if you are a great public speaker and your heart not in the right place,
yeah,
your heart can take you where your mouth's not going to take you. I hope that makes sense.
It does make sense. So, and that is important, especially when it comes to public speaking. I know a lot of people talk about, oh, I'm never going to be in anything. I'm never going to be in a career where I got to, speak to people. You got to speak to everybody.
Right.
Every job interview is a speech. Every job interview you go to, you have to give a speech.
Yourself.
You're selling yourself. That is public speaking. But let's talk about, when it comes to communication, let's talk about the interpersonal communication.
Okay.
We know that communication is a skill that can be improved. And we touched on this earlier when we were talking about people who say, nah, I'm just this way. This is the way I communicate. This is my communication style. And really what it is that it is their excuse. And because, like, I don't like people who make this excuse for having poor any type of skills.
Right.
And especially a skill that you can improve. Like, we're not talking about dunking a basketball.
Right.
Like, some people, you'll just never dunk a ball. You'll
Right.
never dunk a basketball. You'll never be able to jump over somebody to jump over the cornerbacks and catch a football. You'll never be able to push over a 300-pound lineman to get to the quarterback.
Right.
But communication is not in the same realm as your genetics. It's not in the same realm as, your height. It's not in that same realm as your speed. You can improve your communication skills.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, well, I ain't shit because my daddy ain't shit. Or, this is just the way that I talk. This is just the way that I am. This is just me. You got to accept it. And see, the thing about it is this, man. you can improve your communication. Communication is a skill that you can improve. So now we talked about this before when you were talking about how I got past it.
Right.
It's because I viewed communication as a skill that I could improve.
Right.
I was not somebody who could get in front of this camera, get on this microphone, and talk about the things that I talk about the way that I talk about them now. I was not that person.
Right.
I just started trying to do it. And then one of the things that I realized was like, okay, I suck at this.
Right.
Let me get better. So the way that I did that is the way that you can do it for other types of communication. It's about awareness. It's about awareness, and it's about reflection.
Right.
Now, I'm really big on journaling. Let's get into some strategies for improving communication as a skill. I'm big on journaling. All right, brother. So I'm big on journaling.
Yeah.
I'm big on journaling. I'm big on reflection. I'm big on going back to look at the things and the places where you failed at. You gotta push it hard. You gotta push it hard. Yeah. There you go.
Hey, it's all right. Hey, you still strong, Jacob. Hey, you can still outrun us. I ain't gonna lie to you.
So
when it comes,
I'm big on reflection.
Yeah.
I'm big on looking at every no as a step closer to yes.
Right.
And every failure is a step closer to success.
Mm.
I'm big on where is the
Say that again one more time, man. That was deep.
Every no is a step closer to yes.
Mm-hmm.
And every failure is a step closer to success.
What does that mean to you, though?
What it means to me, especially in the context of communication, and we do this all the time. Everybody does this all the time. Almost everybody, especially nowadays, everybody got anxiety or whatever. That's why the reason we use is smoke some weed and shit. Right. You ain't really got anxiety. You just said some dumb shit and you're thinking about it too much. But actively reflect on your communication skills. Actively reflect on your part in the breakdown of communication. Actively reflect on the opportunity to get better in that breakdown of communication, in that failure to communicate. Actively reflect on what it is that you can do better, because every time you fail, you've actually learned what not to do.
Right.
Every time you get in an argument with your girl, every time you get into a disagreement with your boss, every time there is a miscommunication, and every time something wasn't either understood clearly or spoke clearly, right, there's an opportunity for you to say, okay, what can I do better in this next situation?
Right.
Because the only thing that you can improve is who? Is us.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only thing I can improve is myself. I can't improve how well the people that I speak to comprehend, but I can improve how well I explain some shit. Right. So if I go into every situation knowing that I can improve my communication skills over time, knowing that I can be the one who decides how well I communicate and explain something, knowing that this person might have like an 8th grade reading level, knowing that person might have a 6th grade comprehension level, knowing that this person might claim to be this person who's way up here education wise, but when it comes to understanding something that has to do with their emotional reactions, they can't get past nothing. Right. Knowing that, I can say, okay, I can improve. I can get over this obstacle. I can make the steps. I can take the steps necessary to improve that. And I'm huge on active reflection. I'm huge on things like journaling.
What is outside of journaling? What does active reflection look like for you, though, brother?
The way that active reflection looks like is this, because you can simply say that reflection is kind of overthinking. Reflection can be literally summed up as overthinking. It's just about replaying what you did. It's about saying, damn, why did I do that? That was a mistake. I shouldn't have said that. I put my foot in my mouth. I said the wrong things. Like I fumbled the 10. I fumbled the baddie. Active reflection is saying, okay, why did I fumble the baddie? When did the conversation go left? What was it about what I was saying? What was it about what I was doing? What was it about how I was carrying myself? What was it about my body language? What was it about everything that made that conversation go left? Right. And you actively reflect on it. And here's the thing about it, right? 100%. And a lot of times we'll do this. We'll say, no, it was them. It was them. 100% them. 100% of the time, it wasn't 100% them.
Absolutely.
100% of the time, it was not 100% them. So if you can't find something that you did wrong, that means you're not looking hard enough. That means you're not actively reflecting. That means you're just reflecting. You're thinking about and replaying the conversation. Actively reflecting is using everything as a learning experience. That's what active reflection looks like to me. So when we say, that communication is a skill that can be improved, it's about looking at, okay, I thought I communicated with my boss that I was going to be late.
Right.
I thought I communicated with my boss that this project wasn't going to be done at this time that he wanted to be done. Or I thought I communicated that this is how I was going to proceed with something.
Right.
They said, no, I wanted it done this way. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, this motherfucker tripping because I already sent him the email. That's not active reflection.
Right.
Active reflection is to say, okay, how do I prevent this from happening again?
Right.
Do I have to CC somebody?
Right.
Do I have to BCC somebody? Do I have to go and ask them if they got the email after I've sent the email?
Right.
Do I have to make sure I put clearly, if you have any questions, please respond to this email? Or I would appreciate it if you responded to the email and let me know that you got it.
That part.
Or it's saying, okay, am I thoroughly explaining what my methodology is going to be for this process?
And then there's sometimes if our emails are clear, and I agree, it's a couple components that you touched on, and I want to add on top of that. Is your email to your supervisor clear? Is it instructions or the directions, or is everything that you sent in that email clear? And accountability is sometimes, and when you're talking, man, what I hear is accountability.
Accountability is huge.
Sometimes we blame others when it's what's our fault, because
too many times we blame others.
Too many times. And then instead of looking at it from the emotional intelligence side of, you know what? Maybe I should not have reacted like I did. Maybe that was her way of saying, I understand you. Maybe that's his way of saying, I understood what you're talking about. Did you step in their shoes? So I think it's accountability. Everything you're saying, man, it goes into one word for me: accountability, man.
Accountability is huge.
And that's the key to emotional intelligence, because if we want to improve our communication skills, we got to be accountable and know, hey, I like this one. I like here. I like here. I like here. If we don't know what we lack, it's going to be real hard.
It's about knowing your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Being aware of your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
100%. And then, obviously, too, I think one of the major points, too, when it comes to communication is that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
When it comes to a situation, when it comes to something that you're talking about, like, like when you're trying to tell a story about something that you saw, remember, you're the one that saw it.
Right. Right.
So when you're like trying to communicate the way that you feel to somebody, remember, you're the only one that felt that. They did not feel that. So you have to take that step back with that lens, right? And remove that lens and say, okay, I'm explaining something to somebody who did not experience what it is that I'm talking about.
Right.
Am I explaining it fully? It's like trying to explain a movie that someone has never seen to somebody, right?
Right.
But then explain it like, you remember that part where the dude did this? And they'll say, okay, yeah.
Okay.
You say, you remember the part where the dude did this? And they'll be like, no, I didn't see the movie.
Right.
So it's like when you say, okay, am I communicating clearly enough? You also have to say, am I communicating clearly enough for somebody who is not in my shoes? You have to really break things down sometimes to somebody. Right. And a lot of times, and this is something I've actually heard before, well, you're an adult. You should know. If the expectations weren't communicated clearly.
Right.
If the way that you felt was not communicated clearly.
Right.
If what you wanted out of the situation was not communicated clearly, why should I know? Why would I have made an assumption about what it is that you want or what it is that I should want or should be doing?
Right.
And the communication needs to be there. So that's been an hour, man.
Yes,
It's been an hour. And to be honest, I didn't think we was going to be able to go this long on this subject. But you know what? I do appreciate you, coming on with this. I've been trying to get you on this thing forever. I had to trick him into doing this. I had to tell him it was an interview for the organization. I'm not doing that shit.
Nah, man, I'm gonna tell you, man, no excuses, man. Like I told you, man, before, I'm with you. So like I said, next time, man, I got you. So I'm about to work on getting those leadership styles to you as well, because this is something key. You can touch on that, because it's a lot of times to when everybody wants to become a leader until it's time to do leadership shit.
Yeah.
Is everybody wants to be the king until when they give you this king agenda.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh shit, I don't want this no more.
I don't want to be that.
I don't want this no more. It's too hard for me. Nah, I don't want this no more.
Yeah.
Everybody, hey, we can't, man. If you want something, you gotta grind for it. This is something that has to be in communication and a couple of topics, man. I know we're about to kind of do this close out the ending part of it is, but I do want to make sure we all understand this. Emotional intelligence is definitely different. It's a key to success. It's a key to communication, effective communication. It's a key to talking positive to yourself, giving yourself positive affirmations, knowing, being aware of your surroundings. I'm probably missing a couple, but it's emotional intelligence is the key to a lot of things. A lot of times when we get into arguments, it's because of somebody is lacking emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah. Or somebody is lacking it, or somebody is not
Comprehending.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times we can trace those back to breakdown of communication.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's not even a lack of emotional intelligence. A lot of times it's just a lack of communication.
Right.
Like, I'm emotionally intelligent enough to understand how you feel. You just didn't tell me.
Right talk.
You just didn't clearly tell me how it is that you feel. You expected me to understand. You expected me to understand. And see, one of the things you got to remember is that the most important thing in communication sometimes is hearing what isn't said. It's being able to put yourself in their shoes. Because when they're trying to tell you something, when they're trying to verbalize something,
Right.
when they're trying to show you something with the way that they're moving their hands or trying to
Yeah.
how would I feel if I was in that situation?
Mm.
And that's the most important part of communication. And then also when you got back to leadership, the art of communication is the language
Yeah.
of leadership.
It is.
Communication is the language of leadership, because if you can't tell anybody where the destination is, even they can want to follow you all they want. I got it, I got 30 people who are willing to go to the end of the earth for me.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is I don't want to go to the end of the earth.
Right.
But they're at the airport buying tickets.
Right.
And I'm just trying to go down the street. But because I didn't tell them that.
Right.
I didn't tell them the vision. I didn't tell them where it is we're trying to go.
Mm.
And, that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. It's not even a lack of emotional intelligence. And I was even talking about this, or not talking about this. I had seen it on Instagram. Trip Fontaine.
Yeah.
That dude, he was talking about, we use a lot of the times we use emotional intelligence. It's like a buzzword, or we use it as an attack to say that, oh, you lack emotional intelligence. That's why you don't understand where I'm coming from. Or you lack emotional intelligence, and that's why you aren't able to blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Well, you lack communication.
You ain't lying.
You lack communication. You don't know how to communicate where it is that we going, fellas. You don't know how to communicate to your woman where you want the relationship to go. Ladies, you don't know how to communicate nothing. My bad. Yeah, y'all know how to communicate some shit. But I'm just saying, we don't know as a people, especially we don't know how to communicate.
And we're in this generation now, man, that
we cooked.
Yeah, we straight cooked, bro. I'm talking about, hey, communication is limited, man. If you get a chance, young men, I'm gonna give y'all this. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, man. If you see a girl at the club, bro, and you look and your game ain't that right, bro, and she walk away from you, bro, just walk away, bro. It's all good. Just mean, hey, she ain't want to listen to what you talking about, and it's okay.
hey, yeah, that's communication also. That's also communication. You have to know how to communicate. But then also, and this is just something for the fellas, man, stop trying to talk to these people like trying to see if they like you.
Right.
When you're trying to talk to somebody of the opposite sex, or you're trying to talk to somebody, of whatever gender or sex that you are interested in, don't talk to them in an effort to make them like you. Talk to them to see if you like them.
Real talk.
Because that will eliminate a whole lot of bullshit.
Real talk.
Like when I'm talking to somebody now, and that's why I think nowadays I lose interest so quickly when it comes to dealing with women, because I'm not talking to you to impress you.
Right.
I'm not trying to tell you all of the things that I got, or all of the things that I do, or where it is that I'm trying to go, or my past, or whatever the case. I'm trying to find out about you to see if I like you.
Right. And if you're a fit for me.
And if you're a fit for me. Like me getting your number was only the beginning. It was not the end, like, okay, I got your number, now I got to try to impress you.
Right.
No, I got your number so I can talk to you to see if I like you.
Right.
We go on a date. It's to see if I like you. And see, here's what you have to do. Stop talking to somebody in an effort to make them like you, and then also just stop expecting that.
Yeah.
Stop expecting that anybody's going to do that for you.
And to add on top of that, man, you can't expect somebody to have your heart. You can't expect the next person to have your best hearts and your best interests at the heart.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't, because a lot of times know your crowd, know your allies, know who don't got you. Your back, point blank, period. I'm just going to be straight up with you.
And then also, too, realize that that's not selfish.
Right.
If somebody else has their own best interest at heart, it's not selfish.
Right.
You just met this person.
Right.
You don't know this person like that. And then also, it's normal for somebody to have their own best interest at heart.
Right.
Stop acting like that's selfish. But then also, remember that there are people out there who will treat you the way that they want to be treated.
Right.
They still have their own best interests at heart, but they're still going to treat you the way that they want to be treated. Right. They're going to talk to you the way that they want to be talked to. They're going to act with you the way that they want to be acted with. They're going to behave the way that they want you to behave. And they're going to clearly express their expectations because they want you to do the same.
I'm going to be honest with you, man. Like, why, how, for a prime example, why you, Kelvin, Jacob, like I said, similar to, I got a son now. Look, I don't mind telling anybody I got a son. So this is my thing, man. I want to put out the energy to the world that I want my son to get. I don't want somebody to come across as an asshole to him. So I'm not going to come across as an asshole to somebody else, because I know what goes around is definitely going to come back around, and I'd be damned if it goes to my son.
And everybody that you meet is somebody's kid.
You see what I'm saying? So, and it's one of them things to where it's like, damn, man, like, what if my son was struggling? For example, we talked about advising how, the empathy for students.
Yeah. I want somebody to help him.
You see what I'm saying? Because if my son had that same conversation, I want somebody to do the same thing what I'm doing for somebody else. And it's called giving back the tools to the keys to success. So it keeps going around.
So it keeps going around. Most definitely.
But that chain got to start from somewhere.
Got to start somewhere. So that's about it. Thank you so much to my special guest, Suny Crawford, soon to be Dr. Suny Crawford. You heard it here first. I'm sure he's probably told other people, but I'm claiming that he told me first. He told me first. Baby mama, he told me first. Moms, pops, he told me first. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, this has been another episode of the Free Hour, a special episode of the Emotional Intelligence ABC series where we talked about the letter C. C is for communication. When we talk about emotional intelligence, connection, and its importance to personal and professional success. Once again, man, I thank you so much for joining me on the podcast,
Hey, brother.
on the episode.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Don't worry, I'll be back.
Hey, he'll be back. All right, y'all. It's been another episode. Deuces. Yeah, that was good.